right, we're going to move on to issue 3, full COVID, and let's slip the election.
The good news: COVID cases across the nation appear to be flattening out. The bad news: the Midwest is still struggling with the virus. But with schools and colleges returning to session, fears over the future are becoming very present concerns. President Trump aims to overcome these challenges with his quote-unquote Operation Warp Speed strategy to get a vaccine to the American people by 2021. Space-time manipulation aside, there's some good news on this count. 2 vaccines are already in stage 3 testing, and there is reason to think a vaccine may indeed be available for emergency use before the year's end.
Clarence, your thoughts on the final 2 months before the election and how President Trump can try and pare back some of the responsibility narrative that perhaps Joe Biden has usurped from him on this issue?
You mean, I'm sorry, responsible leadership, you mean? Or who's to blame? Because that's what President Trump usually focuses on. And it's unfortunate. But the fact of the matter is, we have a lot of confusion right now over whether schools should reopen or not. Schools that are open, some of them have had to close again, either for a brief spell or undetermined. A big reason for that is there's a national confusion over a lack of national leadership. And so we're just feeling along in a state and locally based set of strategies and hoping for the best. I think that's where we've seen President Trump get his biggest hits as far as his approval ratings go. And gets back to what I was talking about before. Biden can score the most points by simply being a quiet leader who knows what he's talking about.
Kerry, your thoughts on how President Trump can perhaps gain some momentum here on this COVID leadership point?
Well, one thing's for sure is to certainly keep on more on the updates as to where we are on the vaccine. Already, we've learned that the United States is not going to be signing on with the World Health Organization team when it comes to their vaccines because they don't trust the corruption that is going on over at the World Health Organization. And even Dr. Fauci right now seems confident that a vaccine is more than likely going to probably at least emerge towards the end of the year. So that is something that is at least very optimistic. One other thing, as far as the schools are concerned, that one thing that is very necessary is that the Congress does pass some sort of relief that of the skinny bill that is the coronavirus relief, because there's $105 billion in there for the schools that has yet to be passed, and unfortunately the lawmakers are still stalling on it.
Eleanor.
Nowhere is it more apparent that this president has no plan than with the opening of schools. In 36 states, colleges tried to open. They've reported 8,600 cases of coronavirus. The president has sidelined Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx and brought on a new coronavirus doctor, supposed expert that he saw on Fox, who questions the efficacy of masks. The White House has pressured the FDA to come out with this antibody test that they've supposedly revolutionary that they had to backtrack on. President has no credibility with any of this, but you know there will be lots of promises. The danger here is the American public doesn't have any trust in what they hear from the White House, and probably not either from the agencies either, because he has so undermined them.
Mr. Buchanan, final thoughts from you.
I think on this, I tend to agree somewhat with my colleagues in this sense. Look, Donald Trump, he has put all his chips into the middle of the table. He is for opening up the country and not closing it up again. Now, a number of these schools have been opening. Others have gotten spikes and closed. That's where they're going. Those are decisions of the 48 governors and the heads of school districts around the country. As for the vaccine, again, I think all of us pray that you get something before November 3rd. I think all of us pray for that, quite frankly. But the sooner we get it, the better. But we don't know these things. But again, I will say this about Trump. He puts his chips on the line. He tells you what he thinks. He says, here's where we ought to go. And what does he get from Biden? Back in the basement.
All right.